Afternoon, John. Donovan.
Hi, Marty. How are you doing?
Good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been about, what, 3, 4 weeks now? Yeah.
4 weeks, yeah.
Hmm.
And here we are, the last podcast of January,
Yep. Oh my
ready
God.
to put another month in the basket.
Right.
So, how have you been?
You know, well, and I
Good.
just went through 3 weeks, two angioplasties where they put stents in my coronary arteries. They did one, I'm gonna say almost 4 weeks ago, and then they waited 10 days and did another angioplasty. Um, they worked on one side of my heart. There's three main arteries, one to the left, one to the right, and then what they call the middle one, the coronary. They worked on my left and right arteries. The coronary one was clear, so it's quite an experience. I went to the hospital with chest pain. Um, and as soon as I sat down, they said, "What?" And I said, "Chest pain." And just everything started happening from there. They don't mess around. They just start moving me, moving them. And the next day I was in recovery. Um, and everything went well. The medical people are astounding at what they can do. Um, and the recovery time was short, and I'm ready to go. So,
God, between you and me, John, that sounds similar to the experience I had just 6 months ago with uh,
hmm.
with this pulmonary embolism.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, once they cleared it out, they're like, "Go home.
yep, yep,
You're better."
yeah. You're clear.
Right. Your
Yeah, I spent.
circulation is now doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I spent one night each event in the hospital, and just so they could watch me and make sure everything went well. And the next morning, I was quickly, what do you call it? They let me go home. So,
Yeah.
with some restrictions, weight restrictions, and some qualifiers, and I listened and did exactly what they said. So I'm good to go.
Well, I'm glad you've come through this with flying colors.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there
Um,
anything that you observed about yourself or learned that surprised you,
well,
or that gratified you?
I was attentive, calm. I stayed awake through both procedures.
Right.
Um, I was the first one. One of my tactics is to use humor to avoid feeling. First one, I used humor, um, and the second one, I was a little bit more serious. I stayed attentive, and felt everything that was happening. It was like I was in my body. Um, and I have been doing this spiritual Course in Miracles, intentional living, and you know, I've been telling people death is the opposite of birth, and death is a transition, and it's I don't want to say no big deal, but it's a transition. And while I was facing the possibility, I thought, hell no. It's like, I don't care what it is, I don't want to go. It's like, I'm cool right now. I want to stay here. So, um, yeah, and I'm grateful to be alive. The other thing is, before the heart attack, I was clear on how I was eating, and okay with the type of eating I was doing, which was mostly protein. Um, and I see that, well, I, I was sorely wrong. And that's not just the only part of the diet. It was the exercise, the taking care of myself physically, walking and that kind of stuff. So I'm open to whatever recommendation, whatever doctor and or the people that love me are offering me. And I'm walking, going to cardiac rehab. I'm doing everything they say. I changed my diet drastically. So I'm eating a plant-based diet. It seems to be working out really well. I mean, I'm eating a lot of the foods I enjoy, like tacos, soups, and there's herbs and spices, and they make some incredible food from tofu. Oh, one of the things I discovered, get out of here, tofurkey. It's like, oh my God, this thing is fantastic. It's like, it comes in a big loaf, you cut off a slice, make a sandwich, tastes like turkey. It's like I'm in heaven. So I'm discovering a lot of things. And one of the things I did discover is that I have a lot of people who love me deeply. The people in my vicinity, my partner, my daughters, my grandson, they're all attentive and sometimes in my face about, yeah, you do this, the doctor said this. And I'm feeling loved, all the prayers that I felt and received while I was going through this process. I want to thank everybody who thought about this and put some attention to where I was. A lot of people didn't know, they just knew something was off. So that's why I want to, on the podcast here, talk about it and let everybody know that what I went through, how I'm doing. I may even mention a bit of it tomorrow at the Digging in the Dirt group. So, yeah. Um, yeah. I stayed calm, attentive. I didn't go into any spinning, what if, how come, I didn't beat myself up. And I'm open to doing things differently today. So I know your experience of the pulmonary, whatever they call them, were probably the same. You just calm, just okay, let's do this. This is what's going to happen. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, as I was thinking about our conversation, um, thinking about what we could share, it occurred to me, and I'm really grateful that you had the experience that you're reporting, and it's almost word for word similar to the experience that I had. And as I work with people using the accountability practice, um, I find myself gravitating more and more to the what's on the other side conversation. What's this all about? Why am I doing this? I mean, I think most of us get into recovery as a reaction and not as a desire to create something other than
Mm-hmm.
to create relief. And we get into this journey, and like for myself, I discovered the the stubborn depths of the unhealed trauma, depths that were of significant to mention that I went and hired a professional therapist, somebody who's got training in childhood trauma healing, because I was finding that the group stuff wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would say that the 12 years since I met you and been doing this work on a weekly basis, and oftentimes 3, 4 times a week, um, sometime in the last year or two, began to notice my orientation shifting, as I said, from from dealing with the trauma, because so much of this trauma has been healed.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this trauma has been um, paid attention to.
Right.
The inner child, little Marty, has been heard
Yeah.
and is now more or less, I'm not going to claim 100% because I don't know, but from a feeling perspective, more or less integrated with the adult.
Yeah.
And when I experience sadness, loneliness, anguish, anxiety, it's like I now I more or less automatically recognize this is a little kid who's still feeling unhappy, lonely, isolated, and
Mhm.
all I need to do is let him feel it.
Yeah.
And so it's like once we get to that position in our lives where when we face experiences that have end of life potential,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think for both of us, if we didn't get that taken care of right away, we could have died shortly thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, the fact that we could go into the ERs and go into surgery with a level of serenity, and not just serenity, but as I heard you say, I had the similar experience. Like I was just present with what was going on.
Yeah.
I like, yeah, I'm here. I'm feeling it. I'm united with my body, mind, soul, one presence. And it's I didn't know that's what I got into this work to discover.
Yeah. And it's an experience that you find yourself in instead of an experience you want yourself to be in. It happens. The first procedure, the next day, I talked about using humor. The next day, I was able to get to the feeling that I had, which was terrified. I
Right.
mean, that was terrifying.
Exactly.
And I was able to be with that and tell my partner, and she was able to hear that, and then just let it go through me. And then the next time I went in the procedure, I was consciously aware that I didn't want to be funny. I wanted to feel what was going on. I wanted to be present. Um, and that, whatever that did to me, as far as being available to the doctor for feedback, because I was awake through both
Right.
procedures, and staying calm and not creating more stress in what was already a stressful situation. Um, and the recovery time again was, um, I'm 5 days a week out of the second procedure, and they told me don't do anything for 5 days. So I didn't do anything for 5 days. It's like I didn't pick anything up, um, and I just followed directions. And next week I start rehab, and they'll hook me up and tell me how much exercise to do that's appropriate for where I'm at, and I'll do
Right.
that. Yeah, yeah. So,
But
um,
I suggest that we're doing this. I can speak for myself, but I'd certainly love to hear what you say. We're doing this in service of the life we say we want to live.
yes.
You said, I want to live, I don't want to die.
Hmm.
And so what is that? What is that life that we're creating? Well, I think for me, the way it started was I followed your formula. You taught us how to say, I intend to create a world where initially what I remember you saying, I intend to create a world where when a man walks in a room and women feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've changed that or added to that. Mine is I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I wake up in the morning, that's what I experience. I wake up in the morning into joy and freedom, peace, sense of belonging,
Mm-hmm.
well-being, and like you and this process taught me how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've heard you say before um, that you get up in the morning and you just say what you intend to create.
Mm-hmm.
And like so for those of you that are maybe tuning in for the first time and wonder what the heck this is all about, you're gonna you're gonna catch a couple old codgers talking about where this is taking us and what we I couldn't see, and John, I suspect you couldn't. When we started this, I couldn't see where I am today. That was like
Yeah.
it was nowhere on my mind. Might have been alive in my deep divine intuitive part, and that part may have been leading me here deep
Mm-hmm.
in my subconscious, but at the level of conscious mind, I was hurting too much to worry about that I could liberate myself to create a life that I would consciously choose to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the promises of the program that I heard a long time ago is that you will come to a life you never knew possible.
Right.
And that's been a significant statement in my own experience, coming into an awareness that it's like, oh, this is what it is. Oh, this is what it feels like. Oh, this is how I respond and to the people around me. Where before I would react or move away or do some avoidant behavior, now I'm in dialogue or in communication with what's going on internally with me, whether it's I'm present and aware, we're having fun, or I'm feeling irritation, agitation, otherwise annoyed, and I know that that's not coming from present moment, and I can speak that into the space, and then have it lose its energy, and then come back, and in that process, heal another little bit of that wounded child stuff that is still inside me, um, and then be effective and move through my life and um, be the person I am, offering information to as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time, and at the same time having and building my life, my community, my family, my safety, my entertainment, my life. I can,
Your creative efforts.
yeah, creative efforts, and which is separate from my work life, and enjoy what um, be with people and experience life in all its facets. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you'd be willing, again, let's keep it in mind somebody may be listening to this for the very first time and or
Hmm.
they're relatively new to this process. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about the healing process? How does this work create healing from your perspective?
Okay. So the work itself is, um, well, I can couch it generally as recovery or process of self-discovery of healing. The technique that I use and have delineated, intentional living accountability tree process, where I simply own where I find myself. Like one of my statements when I first got into recovery was that I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. and being able just to simply state that where I find myself without blame or judgment. And then just be with that statement, the feeling tone that that statement engenders in my body, which is like, oh my God. And then create a want. When I first did this, it just was an automatic, like, I'm an alcoholic. Took the breath, no blame, no judgment in the room. And my next thought was, I'm coming back. Well, what I've done is taken that and figured out the logistics of what's going on with that statement of truth. So I've learned that if I say the truth about where I find myself, if I'm being dismissive, and I simply say, oh, that was dismissive, that was my choice coming from the best information I had, which is my conscious and subconscious experience, or my conscious and subconscious mind, that the childhood trauma, family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma, created a behavior that was intended to keep me safe for my survival. So if I say that I'm violent or I'm dismissive, and in my mind, if I dismiss somebody I have an agreement with, that I'm in partnership with, or my daughter's in relationship with, and I dismiss them, I see that as coercive and or violent toward our relationship. So I own it. I'm dismissive without blame or judgment. I just dismissed you. Then I take a breath, and then I say, it is my intent to be kind, or is my intent to be present, or is my intent to stay present with you. And that affects the subconscious. It heals whatever pain is in there that created the dismissive behavior. And it infuses, it is my intent to be kind. That energy is like a validation of the pain from which the dismissive behavior came from. It heals or reframes. Another way to say healing is reframe. It goes back down into my subconscious, and I manifest in this present moment my total consciousness. 1/8 conscious, 7/8 subconscious. I'm manifesting that in this moment. So when I pay attention to the moment, no matter what's happening, and simply say the truth of it, and I'm finding myself, I'm connected, I'm available, I'm vulnerable, I'm I want to say scared, because vulnerable, there's a bit of fear with being vulnerable still. And just say the truth, I'm able to be present with myself, accepting and loving of myself, which means I can then be accepting and loving of the people around me. And there's a healing done. There's probably something I miss in there that you can ask me about, or explain your way, the way you explain the same thing.
Well, one of the thanks for that. I heard the stream as the way I understand it too. One of the ways I've come to describe this with newcomers is that what I missed as a child, what we all missed as a child, was a sense of safety. And we've talked about this before, and we've had guests on with Dan and others talk about, that sense of safety. In fact, you said it a few minutes ago about what you want. And I think that your process that you taught us, we call it the accountability tree process, starts with the commitment to feel what I'm feeling in this moment without blame or judgment. That's the safety part. And that's the part that I struggled with when I first started working with you, because I was habituated to blame and judgment. I was habituated to having commentary going on in my head.
Yeah.
You would say, I might say something, you go, okay, well, how do you feel right now? And I could go, well, that's a stupid question, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I watch people over and over again do the same thing. The commentary
Mm-hmm.
starts, and it took me a while to realize that the commentary was a strategy to not feel.
Yeah.
And as such, was operating perfectly according to what I learned in those first few years of life before I had conscious choice. But now what we're doing, when I allow myself to feel and I'm willing to say, okay, those are the thoughts, please stand by. I'm making myself feel safe.
Yes.
I'm giving myself love.
Yes.
Love starts, this is my experience, love starts with unconditional acceptance of what is.
Yes.
I feel I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what your experience in the hospital was, but um, when I was in the hospital, I said I told the guy wheeling me down to the OR, I'm scared. Um, there was a little voice in my head saying, "You sure you want to tell this perfect stranger this?" And
Mm-hmm.
so there was commentary, and so I just stayed with it. It's an act of love. And so little Marty, the inner child, eventually gets this. I know it took a lot of iterations of I allow myself to feel no blame, no judgment, but it's an act of love, and that's where the sense of trust starts to be engendered in that subconscious world of hurt and unhealed trauma. But
Mm-hmm.
secondly, when I then say to myself, in that moment of clear feeling where, as you said, the conscious and subconscious are united, I express it as I'm now in the field of all possibility when I'm in the truth. Then when I say what I want, that's another act of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have the right to create what I want in this moment, or to ask for what I want, even if I don't know how to create it. So as I've thought about this, John, the accountability process starts with an act of love, which is healing of the past, and then it moves to an act of love, which is creating the present, creating the future. What do I
Mm-hmm.
want? Oh, I intend to feel safe. I
Mm-hmm.
intend to feel joyful.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, love.
Yeah. Or I intend to be kind, or I intend to be gracious, or I
Whatever it
intend to be
is.
a loving, caring, nurturing spouse, father, and participant in my
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
exactly. But it took me a long time to get that what we were doing was loving ourselves in a very
Correct.
practical and effective way.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, not like sending a Valentine card or sending flowers. Those are all very nice, but in a like in the moment of my crisis,
Yep.
I'm loving myself by giving myself permission to feel what I'm feeling and paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's what mom and dad didn't do consistently for us.
Right. Yeah. Just witnessing our frustration and saying, "Oh, I see you're frustrated." That's what I do with my grandson.
Exactly.
If something going on that he doesn't like, or he can't watch a movie or his cartoons, and he starts saying something or pouting, and I say, "I see you're frustrated. I see that you're angry. I see that you're feeling sad," and just validate him and don't punish him for whatever feeling he's going through, because he's learning to regulate his emotions, and he's got to feel the emotion of frustration, irritation, agitation. How come grandpa won't let me? It's okay. And not be chastised or punished. And he gets to have that experience inside him and feel safe. No one's leaving him, no one's saying anything to him, no one's redefining his reality. And not to say that I'm not firm and or directive, because I am, and he gets to feel what he feels when that's happening. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, one of the many things that you taught me, I should make a list, actually, John. I've never done that, but I'd like to say, one of the things you taught me is that children can only be victims. Children cannot be actors.
Correct.
And that's, I mean, how many people do we work with, including ourselves at the beginning, where we had some kind of sense that it was our fault?
Hmm. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. It's something's wrong with me. They're mad because if I hadn't, they would be, yeah, yeah, would they just soak up it's all about them. If whatever they're going through in their life, it's all about them. So, yeah.
And yet here we are in our 50s, 60s, 70s, still living with it's my fault until we find a way to create a different relationship with that experience.
Correct. Yeah.
There's something about this is a thing that many people find difficult to um, get. Maybe you could talk a little bit about this. That paradoxical experience that um, we when we go through these traumatic experiences as kids, and for many of us, it's just that, it's that series of traumas of 1,000 paper cuts. It's not necessarily
Hmm.
one massive
Hmm.
traumatic experience, um, that we end up being so self-hating. And the way that we behave toward ourselves is the way our parents behave toward us.
Hmm.
How does that happen?
Yeah, my being I call this emotional violence. Emotional violence is dismissed, ignored, or redefined. And the one that pops into my mind this most, I don't know if there's anything, is the redefining, like I feel sad or I'm upset, and somebody saying, no, you're not.
Right.
So I had to like figure out, okay, okay, if I'm not feeling that, what I don't know, you're telling me I should be happy, and I don't know what that is, and I'm feeling this, and then I distrust myself or blame myself for not knowing. When I was a child, I was expected to react and respond as an adult, and I had not the wherewithal to regulate my feelings, to have delayed gratification, or to frustration tolerance, or there's one more I'm missing, um, instant gratification. Anyway, so I learned, instead of learning emotional regulation and frustration tolerance, I learned to shut down. So I grew up as an adult, somebody says something to me, and I dismiss, ignore, I get triggered back into that old subconscious, because I've forgotten all about it, subconscious reaction response. And I'm doing what I needed to do to survive as a child, as an adult, and it's messy. I'm leaving, running out the door, hitting the walls, or I'm raising my voice in what I believe is appropriate behavior based on what I see the other person doing, which is all from my past. Yeah. And I take up where my parents left off. My parents were critical. They were highly critical. I took that criticism, um, times it by 10, and then took up that gauntlet about how lazy I am, or how stupid I am, or how um, whatever it was that I beat myself up for, not getting it right, not being on time, all this stuff. So,
Well, there's a internal psychological mechanism, isn't there, that um, we can only learn from our environment that we're in.
mm-hmm,
So that behavior, that the way our parents behave toward us, there's some mechanism inside of us that says this is the way I have to be.
mm-hmm,
I mean, not consciously, because
mm-hmm,
consciously we go, I'll never be like them. And then how often do we manifest the same behaviors, sometimes even the same speech patterns that we absorbed in that period of trauma.
Same mannerisms. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the harder I tried not to be like my dad, the more I became just like him. It's like if I if I love my dad and want to be like him, cool. If I didn't like my dad and didn't want to be like him, cool. But neither one of those was me. It was a choice of something that wasn't authentic anyway. Like not being like him is not me. Um, so I learned to live the adventure that is my life. That's one of my intents. It is my intent to live the adventure that is my life, not to repeat the patterns of generation after generation after generation.
You know, it puts me in mind of Tony A's fourth step, and you and I went over the Tony A's version of the 12 steps for the adult children of alcoholics program
Mm-hmm.
some podcasts back last year, which
Yeah.
I highly recommend that people in the ACA program might want to check out.
Mm-hmm.
Tony A's fourth step is we did a fearless inventory of our parents because in essence we had become them.
Yeah.
Kind of encapsulates that opportunity, that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
And fearless and blameless
Mm-hmm.
because it's, you know, our parents did what they did and there's never any undoing of the past. So
Mm-hmm.
whether they were venal, whether they were mistaken, whether they were doing the best they could and didn't know any better, not relevant to taking the inventory.
Right.
The inventory is just a way of, so let me say it different. So if I can see my dad in a dispassionate light, I can see the ways that I find myself being like him in a dispassionate light. That gives me an opportunity to now do the program, do the accountability practice.
Right.
Um, you know, I hated my dad because I saw him as a phony.
Mm.
Okay, am I willing to say then I'm a phony? I'm just like my dad. I'm a phony, and then see what happens. And
Yep.
going through that process and feeling. I mean, it's been a long time since I owned that. So but feeling shame, feeling sadness,
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
feeling some sense of upset, and then giving myself permission to feel that, and then asking myself, what do I want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to
Mm-hmm.
be with this?
I intend to. I
Yeah,
intend to be kind. Mine is I intend to be kind. I intend to be gracious. I intend to live the adventure that is my life. I intend to self-actualize.
yeah,
I intend to be authentic. I intend, yeah.
yeah.
Which is different than an affirmation, um, because it carries, it's carried on the frequency of the truth. Let me explain or articulate a truth, one of my truths. I'm mean to the point of cruelty, truth. That's in alignment with what happened to me as a child. Of course, I'm mean because being mean means people stay away from me and people hurt. So I'm safe. I'm also miserable, isolated, alone, and self deprecating. So I'm mean to the point of cruelty. That brings up a feeling of validation of the pain that caused the mean to the point of cruelty. And then I, in that feeling tone, say, I intend to be kind. And it's carried on the power of that frequency of the healing, goes back down into my subconscious with a new directive for me to seek and find and manifest kindness. Whether I know how to do it or not, I'm open to learning what kindness is. I'm open to experiencing. I'm open to um, being less guarded and being responsive instead of reactive. Well, I wish there, Marty, I wish there was an easy way to explain this.
I
And
know.
and
I
and and
know.
we're gonna, like say this over and over and over. And you said, and I want to say right now, there's 4 meetings a week that people can go to and watch and listen and watch either people go through the process or volunteer themselves to see what the feeling tone is, what the experience of this accountability thing we're talking about, saying the truth, where I find myself. I'm even in a feeling, I'm terrified. I'm feeling terrified. When I was different moments in the hospital, I'm terrified. I'm afraid, and just like allowing myself to experience the fear without judging it as weak or irrational, or just feeling it, letting it process through me, and then being present instead of fighting not to be afraid. That's not present. So, yeah.
When you're facilitating meetings, how do you respond when people say, "I don't know how to feel," or "I'm feeling numb," or um, I try not to feel.
Okay. Like, say the first one again.
I don't know what I'm feeling. I can't feel
Of, of,
anything.
of course you don't. How would you know what you feel? You had a feeling as a child and somebody told you you were wrong, so you stuffed it down. So yeah, of course you don't know how you feel. And then I would explain that when I say feel, what I used to hear, like, how do you feel? I used to hear, what do you think and how are you going to fix this?
Mm,
I didn't hear, what's the feeling tone in my body, in my muscular, skeletal, visceral body. What's the feeling tone? Is it in my gut? Is it in my chest? Is it in my throat? What's the body sensation that I'm experiencing? That's feeling. Feelings are physical. They um, have a frequency, and then I interpret the frequency and give it a word, or what I did before my recovery is give it a story. And the story was, they're messing with me, or I'm stupid, or I don't know what the hell you're talking about, get out of my face, you asked me to fix this, I'm fixing it, now you're mad at me. It's like, it's confusing. Instead of going, um, either, oh, I don't know, give me a minute, and then noticing where I'm feeling, what I'm feeling in my body. Feelings are physical. I was talking to a young man one time, and I asked him, "What are you feeling?" When I was doing
right.
occupational massage therapy, and he started telling me everything he thought. Well, I'm not a good dad because my kids got in this situation, and I'm this, and I should. I said, "Oh, thank you for sharing." And the question was, "What are you feeling?" And then he went into another story about how messed up he was and he did it wrong. And I said, "Oh, stop. Okay, how do you feel? Where do you feel when you have to go to the bathroom really bad?" And he goes, "Oh," and he pointed to his groin area, his pelvic area. I said, "That is a feeling. That's what I'm asking." And his eyes lit up and he goes, oh my God. He had no idea that the question, "What are you feeling?" is a request to pay attention to your body instead of going into an explanation of what the thought process was, or the critical process, his self-criticism, or his, we call them feelings of shame and guilt, which are actually, I believe, um, shame is a word that covers up an immense array of feeling tone that I'm afraid of, because when I was a kid, I had a feeling I got hurt, ostracized, punished, um, ridiculed, humiliated, instead of validated. Oh, I see you're frustrated. I see you're angry. I see you're sad. So it gets convoluted as an adult, and we got to go through this explanation time after time after time to go, I feel it in my throat. I feel it in my arms. I feel it in my gut. My gut dropped. My heart feels heavy. My chest is heavy and tight. I feel tingling in my arms. Those are all informations about my experience in the present moment in the environment that I find myself right now. I find myself in my room with people, safe people who love me, and the feeling tone is calm, focused, grateful. It's in my body. I can feel it in the relaxed position that I find myself in. I'm feeling connected, grateful, calm, and willing to say this over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And I needed to hear it over and over and over and over. I needed to hear the same thing over and over. An example of that is that when I first got into recovery, I went to like a routine. I had my routine of going to meetings. Well, another guy had his routine, and I would be at a meeting with this guy 3 to 4 times a week. And he'd start talking, and he'd tell he said the same thing every time. And I'm going, oh my God, after about 2 years of this, 3 years of this, I go, oh no, here he goes. I'm going to listen to him. He ate a whole pie when he got home, and I don't really care anymore that he ate a pie. And then one day he said, and I figured out I could ask for help. He's been saying this thing for 3 to 4 years, and I'm like judging him, and then it just clicked in me. Oh my God. Oh, you mean I can ask for help. It's like I had to hear it over and over and over and be in my judgment of it and my irritated, agitated, otherwise annoyed, keep coming back. And I finally heard it. Oh my God. I was a 45-year-old man who discovered, oh my God, I can ask for help. I can ask, oh wow. Oh my God. What a blessing. So I'm willing to to repeat it over and over, and I'll do it with gratitude and expectancy, and say it. Yeah, and I do this for selfish reasons because the more people who know who they are and live their authentic life, the safer I am. Somebody living their authentic expression, there's nothing of mine that they need, and I'm safe. There's nothing. My children are safe. My grandson's safe. My partner's safe. We're safe because they're living their authentic life, and I yeah, I want more people to do that. So
It's as you were talking about the gentleman who told the story over and over again, and I was thinking about um, people that I know like that, and I watch myself get agitated, kind of the way I heard you describe that.
hmm
And then it occurred to me one of our principles is life happens for me, not to me.
yep,
And maybe you could take a minute and elaborate on that
yeah.
for the newcomer.
I used to think things happened to me, and I had to like fix it or like get out of it. Or my statement is nothing happens to me. Everything happens for me, for insight into myself. So somebody, what I used to like do early in my recovery is judge people. I could see now that was happening for me because I needed to hear it over and over and over and over, whether I realized it in the moment or not, because I didn't.
Right.
That guy was telling his story for me, and when I finally got the message, I stopped with the irritation and I started hearing other things that he was saying also, and that it was vital to the whole group, not just for me, that people express themselves the best way they know how without blame or judgment. So, this, I want to say, heart attack, this pain in my chest happened for me, not to me. And the for me part is it's a wake-up call for me to reevaluate the belief system that brought me to the situation, and reevaluate and accept more and learn and make a different choice. That happened for me, and I'm very grateful for, well, one of the things I've experienced over the last 4 weeks is how much people love me. It's amazing. It's just I want to say it's whelming. It's rich. It's like wow, wow, wow. I deserve this. I
You
deserve
you
this.
sound surprised.
What? That's pretty stark wake up call. It's like, I've been teaching this for 25 years, and I have more to learn. I'm not the end all be all of this. I don't tell people do this practice because it'd be good for you. I do this practice because I want to grow. I want to continue. I'm not there yet. If I ever get to wherever if there is a there, and I get to it, I'll let everybody know. But whatever that is, I'm not there. I'm still learning and growing and using the process to
Maybe that's the
continue.
there.
Maybe, yeah, staying in the practice is there. Yeah, I like that. That's what I
Well,
intend to
because
do.
here's the deal. The tomorrow is never given.
No.
Tomorrow is created.
Yep.
And we have a lot to say about what tomorrow's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have total say, but I got a lot to say.
Yep.
And that's what this practice has taught me, is that this practice taught me that I'm the creator of my life and that I have the power to say what that life is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And, life will throw curveballs like pulmonary embolisms or heart attacks or cancer or people leaving us or people dying on us, all those life
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
life is a series of curveballs.
Yep.
That's the way it is. It's built that
Mm-hmm.
way. How do I want to be with it?
Right.
What the accountability practice has taught me is that I have a lot to do with how I'm going to experience those things.
Right.
That's why, as I shared on this podcast, and I've shared with you personally, that um, when I had that experience last summer, I was just pleasantly amazed that I just wasn't freaked out,
Yep.
and that when I had moments of fear and terror, like you described, it's like I just owned it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel any need to flee from it. I didn't think there was anything wrong. In fact, it made sense to me. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I be afraid?
This is pretty scary. Yeah.
This is scary shit.
Oh my God, serious shit. People, look at all these people running around. They think it's serious.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that. One of the ways I know that happened for me is because it showed me what I'd learned.
Mm-hmm.
It showed me, it like validated in an experience, not in a thought, what I've been working on for 12 years.
Yes, and I like that statement, in an experience, not a perception of it. The
Yeah.
actual experience of it, not my concept or my thought about it. Um, the feeling tone, yeah.
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 It's like, again, as I said earlier in the podcast, is that my overall intention is I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. Well, I'm lying there on the gurney to go in the operating room, and I'm scared, and I say I'm scared, and it generates a sense of peace and well-being,
Yeah.
utterly paradoxically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I could, and I think again I reported this, that the nurse, the ER nurse or the OR nurse came out after came down there, brought down there, and she goes, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm scared." And she says, "Well, of course you are." And it's
Mm-hmm.
like as soon as she said that, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in
Yeah,
good hands."
yeah, yeah. You're in the reality of where you find yourself.
And
Yeah.
she gets it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to hide anything. I'm being taken care of. She's like, it's in a way, I felt like a little kid who, when I said I'm scared, Dad said, "Yeah, of course you are. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I'll be with you as you get through this."
Yeah. Wow.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Well put, Marty. Well put.
and I can feel, I can still feel it now. I
Mm-hmm.
could feel my body relax.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever tension was there drained away.
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself over to the process
Mm-hmm.
without without fear or trembling, or as Hunter Thompson would say, or loathing. I'm just okay. And you know, the procedure, there were a couple of times where it was a little dicey for me, but that was okay. That was, I knew, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was awake through that procedure just like you were.
Yeah.
And like, okay. And I was surprised. I got to tell you, I was surprised when the next day they said, okay, you can go home.
Yeah. It's like,
Like,
what? Wait a
really?
minute. What? Yeah. Uh,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
uh, uh, well,
So, as we come to the end of our time together, I want to also tell you something um, that I'm starting to come into the fullness of awareness about. And that is, um, you said it a couple times earlier today, I'm doing this process to learn more about myself.
yeah.
And I remember when we first started working together and you were facilitating our men's group and you would say that, and I would go, what the fuck is, what?
Yeah.
It's like, what? It made no sense to me. I want to be honest with you. It didn't make any
Okay.
sense to me. Um, I knew that you were, I knew that was true for you. I mean, I didn't question what you were saying. It's like, I couldn't see that for myself.
Right.
And now it's like, cowabunga. There's just each one of us is this vast universe
Oh my God.
of of creativity, love, fear, um, awareness, lack of awareness. I mean, there's this,
Mm-hmm.
we're this incredible, unending depth of possibility. And
Yep.
this is, of course, this is all about finding out, not just finding out who I am, but finding out who I'm going to be, who
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, this is a neat ticket.
Yeah.
This is like, um,
Exciting. Exciting. Adventurous. Daunting at times.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all of the above,
All of the above.
all the above. One of the things that we came up with in one of our meetings recently, and somebody was working on noticing that tumultuousness of feelings that seem to pile on, fear, anger, sadness, all kind of happening at the same time, or kind of
Mm-hmm.
tumbling around in the body at the same time. And eventually came up with the intention, I intend to feel safe with all my feelings.
Oh wow. Wow.
I intend to feel safe with all my feelings. And that's like, that's a discovery.
Yep.
Like, I wasn't feeling safe with my feelings. Now, like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to not feel. I just want to feel safe that whenever particularly those tumultuous ones, the fear and shame come up, that I'm still okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or can take action.
Yeah,
Whether the action is just simply saying, I'm terrified, that's an action,
right.
and it's proactive instead of trying to hide it and be tough and not let this affect me. And I'm not a sissy. And it's like, no, 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 this is terrifying. Terrifying. I'm terrified. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. And then see what happens. Okay, Marty.
Well, as always, Mr. D,
Yeah.
if you'd like it, you get the last word.
Oh my God. I'm feeling grateful, happy to be alive, um, um, just grateful to be where I'm at with what I have, and continuing to learn and grow and offer this information to as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. It's empowering information. Yeah, yeah. So
I'd
thank you.
say amen.
Yeah,
Thank you, John, for your time.
you're welcome.
I support you continuing to just grow in strength and vitality and joy.
Okay, got it.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
You got it, Marty.
Take care.
Uh-huh.
Bye.